Well, happy Sunday morning, everybody, and it's 8 o'clock, and if you're looking out your window expecting to hear church bells, you may hear sirens, you may hear screaming in the streets, because after all, it is Los Angeles County. I'm Mike Netter. Welcome to Save Los Angeles, our podcast with John Cruikshank running for the 4th Supervisor District in LA County. We're going live on Sunday morning, and John, how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel great. I mean, like we say, we're saving Los Angeles, so being on Sunday morning sounds fantastic, especially at 8 o'clock in the morning. Great time.
It is. And by the way, when I say we're going live, we have pre-recorded the show, so if you call in, this just in, we're not there. But what we want you to do is help support this campaign. You probably just heard Andy right before this, Andy Bales, and you understand that Los Angeles has a lot of problems. We can do something about it. And we've been talking about this for a number of weeks. The reverberation that's taking effect from things that the County Board of Supervisors is doing, whether it's the jails, whether it's the district attorney. John, you got a plan with the Core 4, and today we're going to apply that Core 4 to the actors' strike with our guests that we have in the studio.
Right. So as I always say, the core 4 issues that are the most important for LA County are economic opportunity empowerment, infrastructure, homelessness, and public health and safety. And as we always talk about, the 4 of those always work together anyhow. So we're really excited about today's guest to talk about the actors' strike and the writers and what's going on there, and get a perspective from someone that's on the front lines of what's going on.
Right. I want to introduce our guest. If you're watching, by the way, we're going to have this on live Vodcast soon, too. So I know when you go on Vodcast, you go, oh, it's Netter. We better not turn on our television sets. But we got a good-looking guy today. And to be honest, Jake, I did call Tom Cruise, but he didn't return my call, so we've got you.
That is unfortunate. It's the story of my career. When they can't get Cruise, they call me.
Actually, though, it's a little fortunate for us because we've been talking about – we had Eric early on Alex Michelson's show, and John and I have been talking about this actors' strike and the misunderstanding about the rank-and-file actors versus the producers and the studio management – that really support the people that John is running against and are oppressing the people of L.A.
Right. Well, John, Mike, thank you guys so much for having me here and bringing attention to this story.
Tell us a little bit about you first, though, because not everybody's familiar with you as you are.
To say a little bit about me, I'm originally from Massachusetts, a city called Worcester, the graduate of a military college up in Vermont called Norwich, and I found my way out to California as an actor probably about 23 years ago, and worked in the studio system for a long time. Was able to parlay that into some on-camera jobs. I did a couple TV shows, and that was my break to go full-time acting. And it has been a struggle, like most actors. It's true. There is the top up percent, and then a lot of us we're fighting to stay alive. So I'm actually perfect as a guest for this situation because I am the journeyman. I am the guy in the middle. I am the person that can't absorb this strike. I'm around people that cannot absorb this strike, whether they be behind the scenes, whether they be on camera or do voiceover or stand-in work, back, whatever. So my history has been a journeyman who's gone through the rigmaroles of an actor. And here we are down the road, in my 40s, the rug comes out from under you. Out of nowhere in a lot of ways. We always thought that, because we were actors and we were in our unions and, the streaming services and the studios would kind of look out for us.
Yeah, John, it's interesting because I think the public perception is we have this perception, right, of the big screen, right? The Tom Cruises. I always make fun of Brad Pitt because I do want to be his stunt double at one point, and I've applied for that. I'm going to be honest with you, Jake. I got turned down, and I'm still bitter. But the average actor, if you will, is just another working person being represented by a union who, frankly, represents a large chunk of employment in Los Angeles County, and we haven't heard much really from the County Board of Supervisors even stepping in to say, hey, we want to mediate, we're going to help these people, have we?
Oh, it's been dead silent. And like Jake's mentioning, there's plenty of people that are in the middle or even lower than the middle that are getting hurt. My sister, she's a costumer. My brother-in-law, he's a prop master. And they rely on commercials and TV shows and movies being produced. And when those stop, it's not just the people that are within the union, but also everyone else that relies and have built their businesses around all of these studios to survive. And so the hit to our economy in a time where things have just been such a struggle for everyone here in Los Angeles County, and you would think that the 5 county supervisors would be working day and night to find a resolution for this, because this stoppage of work doesn't help anyone.
Jake, it's interesting, right? Because I don't think people realize, I do a show on Saturdays that'll be back on next week, SOS Los Angeles, Angel Marston. And you and I know about the Pineapple Hill Grill and Saloon. Many actors and actresses, et cetera, go in there. But her business is down about 40% because folks like you're not getting like big residuals from a movie. Explain to us a little bit how that works so we can have John talk about the circular effect it has in the economy.
Well, I love the historic Pineapple Hill. It's a great bar. It's an industry bar. We have meetings there. We'll go there after set, and then you're not working. Okay, I felt this slowdown since January. I saw it. I was like, wait a minute. So what people have to understand is, okay, the strike started maybe like 3 months ago with the writers. Well, the studios know that's coming. So they don't want to be caught in a situation where they're filming a TV show or a movie, because then they lose their actors in the middle of it, unless they were able to get one of these exemptions. The other thing is, once that starts, and they're going, and they have to get done, they'll cut episodes. So you only got 2 episodes. You budgeted. This is a big problem in the business in general, and we all should know it being in it, is don't think you're going to get something, because it can be pulled right out from under you for whatever reason. But in this case, people, you say you're doing a show and it's 13 episodes. Okay, we're going to wrap early. We're only going to do 10.
And then you get paid less.
And then that the residual income and the residual effects on that economy. You can't go get a burger at the Pineapple. Well, so-and-so hasn't worked in 3 months. He's going to leave town. He's going to ride this out, back from where he came.
So what's really fascinating to me is how LA County works. And we talked a little bit about in the pre-room, our green room, if you will, before the show. Because why you are kind of paid on an as-you-go basis, and they're trying to cut the disposable income that you have to spread around. Your opponent, Janice Hahn, is proposing jacking up the minimum wage that people like Pineapple Hill and Saloon have to pay. Why not fighting for the rank-and-file actors, John? It seems to me like it's colliding.
Well, it's on both ends. I mean, the reason that actors and writers and others are asking for more money is because the cost of living is skyrocketed. And the reason the cost of living is skyrocketed is because you have politicians that are putting artificial pressures on businesses. And so their reasoning behind any of these minimum wage adjustments are their proclamation that these hotels, these resorts are making too much money. Well, who is it that people that have never signed the front of a paycheck, how could they possibly know what's too much money? How do they know how much is too much profit? They don't understand the basic principle of why people risk everything to start businesses. And the reason is because they have to make a profit. If you're losing money, there's no reason to start a business. So for anyone to say, well, you're making too much profit, if you've never signed the front of a paycheck, you shouldn't be ever making those decisions. But that's the problem with our Board of Supervisors. They've never signed the front of a paycheck. They're making decisions, and that hurts everyone. And now you go back to this strike, and there's many strikes going on throughout California, but this one here in LA County probably affects us the most. And it's not just the people that are on the strike or picket line, but people that rely on all those actors and writers to be there, going there every day and getting a cup of coffee and getting, a sandwich during lunch or whatever it is. But now the cost of all that's so high that nobody can even afford to go to lunch anymore.
Right, and what I find really fascinating, Jake, is when you talk about hotels, motels, and restaurants, they're ongoing concerns, right? Like you've got to run good. There's good times and bad times. But a movie production or a show production, a little bit like politics, it's kind of a pop-up business a lot of the time. It doesn't go on for 20, 30 years. For most people out there, there are not many shows like NCIS. A movie comes, it employs a bunch of people, and then it goes away. And what's interesting, John and Jake, is that these movie producers have then been taking what profits they have and it seems investing them in Democratic politicians, haven't they?
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole. I think you need three things. I know you need three things for a successful strike. You need solidarity. We have that. I mean, the vote for the SAG union was like 98%, 97%. You need public support. I think we're like 50-50. I'm here today to represent the middle-class actor. The strike means everything different to everybody.
I'm supporting you, too, so that puts you over the 50% top. I want to be clear. I did a poll this morning, and I'm the last. I put it over the top. That's what I want to go on record about that.
Yeah, we're not public sector unions. We're rank and file citizens. And so that's the other thing. You need the public support, and I'm here to galvanize that. We need that because a lot of people think it's Mark Ruffalo or somebody that told them how to live their life and, you're bad for this or that. No, there's a lot of journeyman people like we talked about. And you said you got family in the business. I have hundreds literally thousands of friends that are feeling this. And the third thing that we need for a good strike, what everybody needs, is you need political pressure.
And we're not getting that.
We're not getting that.
And interesting point here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my favorite political whipping person, which is, whether I like it or not, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
He cut a deal for the studios. How much was it?
I think it was $325 million a year.
$325 million credit. And John, by the way, that was on the eve of?
Yeah, it was during the writer's strike. So we were about two months into the writer's strike. On the eve of the actor's strike, I go down the rabbit hole. Couldn't find the article on Google. Had to go to Brave Search. And because I noticed that the legislature had passed this tax deal for the movie studios and streamers. So then I'm like, well, what happened to the bill? I mean, you would think that the governor of probably two of the most Democrat unions in the country, the most diverse in the country, would try to bring them into that deal and maybe get some,
some leverage or something with it. And John,
yes,
let's talk about that. Correct. The optics of it, John, where they're supposed to stand up for these unions, yet they're making a deal with the bosses because the bosses in the studios contribute to these politicians. John, where's the outrage on that?
I don't know. I mean, the problem is we talk about the uniparty and how one party controls and basically money and politics go together. And politicians can't do their job if they don't have all sides represented. And so hearing about how the producers and the people at the top of the movie industry are cutting deals with Sacramento, but they don't have the rank and file there actually having a voice, to me says there's clearly a problem. So I don't understand why they're not now trying to find a immediate solution to this. There should be outrage, and it should be outrage led by our leaders right now, but it's not being led by them at all.
And what makes me outraged is everybody knows, if you don't know by now, I'm one of the leaders who put the recall on the ballot for Gavin Newsom. And the CEO of Netflix, nothing to see here, who's paying attention, contributed to stop the recall directly to Gavin Newsom $3 million. That's $3 million. And Jake, I know I saw the limo you pulled up in today and the door open. I know $3 million would barely make a dent in the $7 you made last week.
Right.
But that is, and then at the same time, Netflix is buying exemptions and tax breaks. Distressed
properties.
Yeah.
You name it. I mean, his wife was the one that funded Gascon.
Right.
So this is what I would bring to the people of California. The actors strike and the writers strike. Okay, we're supposed to be natural allies. with the tech community. They're very far left, and they're all for the people and humanity and compassion. Well, wait a minute. This is what they are doing to us. What are they going to do to you? Because they are growing as technology increases. More and more things are going to go towards AI. More and more of these studios are going to get more powerful. These tech companies are going to get more powerful. So this is one of the opening salvos. And this, if you like I told you, this started for me in January. How many people you think with a wife and kids? I'm single, so I'm able to endure a little bit. And then I have actor friends that are taking care of their mothers and fathers in elderly age. How long do you think they can absorb that? These altruistic, compassionate companies get on the line. This should have been handled. We are coming off two years of COVID, maybe even more of that.
100%. And John, when you talk about economic opportunity, right, where you have the trade unions represent, you have Janice Hahn talk about building housing and stuff like that. There are so many people behind the scenes that I grew up with that built a lot of these sets. And that economic opportunity is going away with AI, and that's part of what the strike is about.
I mean, I'm going to answer Jake's question about when are they coming after us. I mean, they're coming after every business. It's not just the movie industry. Yeah. Every time you raise the minimum wage, you're forcing businesses to have automation, to eliminate jobs that are starter jobs. So the whole thing just feeds off each other, and it's just a byproduct of what's going on throughout this country, but primarily here in California where it's really accelerated. So that's what's happening. The pressure on our businesses, I think, going back to our green room, Jake, you and I talked about how we're seeing homeless show up in certain areas, and it's just making life for businesses so bad that they have to close their doors and sell their property, and those are being gobbled up by big corporations. So there's something afoot here that's politically driven that is just happening right in front of our eyes. It's transforming California and to something that none of us are going to like at the end of the day.
It was the term I call it is agitation. And I don't want to go too far into it now because of legal things, but you go to certain corners in the valley, in Hollywood, and there's a small business or a small strip mall or something like that next to a major studio, next to a major streaming company. In front of the streaming company, it's fine. Security. There's not a homeless encampment on it. Across the street is a small business. And there's meth labs. There's a homeless encampment. There's live drug use and total chaos in a homeless encampment. That area cannot sustain that. And then you look a month later, they couldn't sustain it. They went out of business, and then a big studio buys it.
And it's funny you say that because not to keep plugging SOS Los Angeles on John's show, but that's what Angela Marston's original voice came about.
Right.
That during COVID, why her outdoor dining that she invested like $100,000 in was told to shut down, a movie production in that parking lot right next to it, 10 feet from it, was allowed to do outdoor dining for the production that they're doing. To your point, John, they're not. When are they coming for us? They're coming for us now.
Well, they're here now. Yeah. And so the reason I'm running is because I have the outrage that Jake's talking about, and it was well before this strike that's going on now. What I started to see, and we saw it at COVID, it really exposed itself. And this radio station, KABC, has talked about it a lot. And that is that we have the health department that shut down businesses and schools and all of the things that we were doing and started to control our daily lives. The supervisors did nothing about that. Like literally just allow, and that same health department director, she's still there. Then you have a sheriff that started to do the right thing and start to remove the homeless encampments in areas where people were paying huge amounts of dollars for their homes but couldn't enjoy their homes because right outside their door they had RVs and tents and people urinating and everything else right in front of their families. And he tried to do something about it, but because that didn't meet the narrative of what the Board of Supervisors were trying to do, they actually ended up putting in a measure to change the charter for them to be able to remove a duly elected sheriff, but didn't do the same for a duly elected DA that everyone knows is doing a huge harm to Los Angeles County. So you got to just think, what really is happening here? And it's happening right in front of our eyes, but unfortunately, nobody's really doing much about it. Yes, this radio station and many other radio stations and Mike, your groups and others are talking about it, but until people step forward and start to change who our political leaders are, people that are not afraid to make hard decisions and fill up our jails with criminals again and help end strikes that where you only have one side of the bargaining unit talking to the politicians and the other side doesn't even have a voice there. This is the best thing we could do for workers that are on these lines is to work to reduce inflation, get them back into their jobs, get these businesses rolling again, and get the government off everyone's back. That's the best thing we could be doing right now.
And Jake, let's talk a little bit when we talk about suppression of voices, because that's a lot of what we do. But there's a rumor that in the movie industry and the film industry and the entertainment industry, that if you express a conservative view, it becomes harder to work.
That's for sure true. There's no question about it.
No, I'm asking that directly, right? Because I think part of the problem becomes we have this perception that the rich people are conservative. We now have these limousine liberals, which we call them, controlling studio and management, suppressing the voice of the rank and file, journeyman actor or the average everyday person. Because if you speak up and exercise your First Amendment, this isn't like you can get fired from McDonald's even. You simply don't get another job.
Yeah, well,
you're temp labor. You're a carnival.
Well, there's gatekeepers. And if you upset the gatekeepers, whether it be, casting directors, things like that, there's a good chance you won't work or producer gets wind of, your politics. I, as a professional, I don't bring it on to set. I'll have conversations with people. I'm probably be considered center right. So I've had conversations and been able to bring people around. But I think we're at the point, and I just know it in my life, like people have reached out to me because wow, you weren't crazy about some of this stuff. It's time for uncomfortable conversations. If your kid is working at a McDonald's, he's in danger of a crazy person attacking him. I go to 7-Eleven. I want to get a Coke and something like that. I got to deal with a mentally ill homeless person attacking a woman. I'm done. I don't want to do that anymore. And we have to start looking at the consistency of who we're voting for and what we're getting. Donald Trump is not in his state. He's not in his city. He's not. I don't think there's an elected Republican in the state or a conservative. We have to start looking.
They're elected. There's just not a lot of them.
There's not a lot of them. But let's say L.A. So you get someone like John in here that he can go in and start making some change. We have to get new faces. They're all recycles, and the city is getting worse and worse and worse. I'm up in the valley, like we were talking about with Angela. They didn't get rid of the homeless. They rustled them. They're just in different neighborhoods.
Well, actually, Angela, and speaking not quite your district, John, but the RV that exploded was right behind her restaurant. And she'd been complaining about that RV. And in your area, we've talked about this before. Long Beach, beautiful city, Grand Prix there, has one of the highest crime rates, if not the highest crime rate, in Los Angeles County.
Well, I mean, we talked about the metro and being end of line where homeless have to get off the trains at the end of the night. But also in Long Beach, I'm going to say this over and over again, you get what you allow. Like when there was an RV parked behind my building in San Pedro, I made sure that I contacted the local council member in the CD15, and then I contacted the police. I found out what I could do, and we got them removed. They were selling drugs out of that RV. And so, but a lot of businesses don't have that luxury. The police want to do their job, but they're always handcuffed to be able to do their job. And even if they're trying to put people away, nobody goes to jail anymore. We talk about the overcrowding, and there's just not enough facilities, and they're not getting prosecuted.
I think what it comes down to is, Jake, we the people, whether you act for a living, work at a restaurant, but the average person, like the average journeyman, we have to stand together, correct?
Correct. And we have to the policies are working against the citizenry.
We have to stand up as citizens against the incumbent politicians, against what we call studio management, the rich who are behind walls preventing us from doing what we need to do. John, in this next week, and you've been incredibly politically active, you're door walking, you're doing all kinds of events. I'm having trouble keeping up. But how do people help your campaign?
Well, go to my website, johncruikshank.us. Check out what I'm doing. Come to an event. Give me a holler. Let me know how you can help. We certainly need people to volunteer. You don't have to run for office like I am, but I certainly could use your help knocking on doors, maybe giving me a few dollars, telling your friends about this campaign and about this podcast. Just getting the word out there. The goal is to get roughly 400,000 votes by March of 2024. So join our team.
That's what we need people to do. And Jake, I know that people can keep up on the actor strike. We're rooting with you guys very strongly. Look, the people to save Los Angeles, you out there can make a difference. And if you're hearing the show on Sunday morning, it's rolling right into 8:30, and I want you to stop and take a deep breath and look around at what your county has become and is becoming more and more every day. You can make a difference. Support John Cruikshank. Go to his website. Go to my Twitter feed, @NetterMike. Follow all the things that I put in there every day. I put a lot of stuff about Los Angeles. The county can be saved, but it's up to you to stand up and do something about it. Because no matter what the politicians or the rich producers say, it's up to you. Save Los Angeles.